welcome back into another new session with me, Geetu. So, today, what is the chapter we are going to be learning? We step into a brand new chapter. So, that will be the chapter 3 of your business studies of class 11 of SPUC. So, the name of the chapter is Private, Public, and Global Enterprise. That's the chapter. This is chapter we are going to be looking into. So, what exactly we are going to be learning into this particular new chapter? There are all kinds of business organizations which you yourself know. Small organizations, large organizations, industrial, trading, privately owned, government owned, and several other organizations which affect our daily economic life. Therefore, all this part of your Indian economy. Okay, so there are privately owned organizations as well as government owned business enterprises. Hence, India has a mixed economy. Okay, so this is what we are going to be learning in this particular chapter. So, the government of India has opted for mixed economy where both the private as well as the government enterprises are allowed to separately evolve or to work in cooperation with each other. So, in this particular chapter, we are going to be looking into the private and the public and the government enterprises or the global enterprises which makes India a mixed economy. Okay, this is what I was talking about. India being a mixed economy where we have the public sector, where we have the private sector. So, in the second chapter, where it says the forms of business organizations, we have already looked into sole proprietorship, we have already looked into your partnership and joint Hindu family, cooperative society, multinational companies. Then we also looked into companies where we have learned about private sector and public sector, but it was in very much of minimal where we have learned about them. So in this particular chapter, we are going to be concentrating on the public sector, how exactly the public sector is affecting our Indian economy. Okay, so the public sector, what is the meaning of the public sector, the mind map of the entire chapter, everything have been listed it out for you. So we know that in the public sector, it grows and an important question arises in respect of how exactly things are organized and how an organization should move and take its decision. The government has a major role to play in the form of public sector. So the government's interference will be there in the public sector. So this is what we are going to be learning. Now, what exactly is a public sector? How is the government's interference going to affect the public sector? Who are the employees? What about the offices? What about the decisions? What about yeah, what about the formation of the governments? Then who are all going to affect the economic activities? All this is what we are going to be learning into this public sector chapter. Okay, so we have already completed this private sector. So the name of the chapter already says private, public, and global enterprises. So we have already completed private sector. So today we are going to be looking into what is this public and global enterprise. Okay, so the public enterprises is being divided into departmental undertaking, statutory corporation, and third is governmental companies. Now, the next slide, you will see the mind map of the entire chapter, but I want you to understand that the public sector is divided into departmental undertaking, statutory corporation, and government companies. So in under below each of these, you're going to be learning the merits and the demerits. Here again, merits and demerits. Here again, merits and demerits is what you're going to be learning. And you have the features as well. So please make sure you're going to concentrate on learning this particular to be looking into these further topics. So each of them has merits, demerits, and features, which I told you is very, very important. Now, when we are talking about departmental undertaking, you have the examples of departmental undertaking, which is Post and Telegram, Railway, then Doordarshan and ordnance factories. When you talk about statutory cooperation, you have the Food Corporation of India, you have industrial finance, life insurance policies. So the main thing is you need to understand and you need to learn at least one, two, or three examples below each of these, so that it will help you to learn the particular topics. So under government companies, we are having HAL, then Steel Authority of India Limited, then Hindustan Shipyard Limited. All these are examples. Okay. Going into the mind map of the chapter, it's very important. Write it down somewhere, make note of it before you start writing your notes or making note of things. First, you need to write the mind map, as I have already stated. So make sure you're going to take notes of this particular mind map. So the marks wise, what is the weightage of the marks that we are going? Marks, departmental undertaking, let me highlight it for you. If I highlight it, it would be much more easy for you to see. Now departmental undertaking will come for a 4 marker. That means each of this would come for 4 marks. Features would come for 4 marks, separate 4 marks. Merits would come for separate 4 marks. Demerits would come for separate 4 marker. Then statutory cooperation, again each of it would come for 4 marker. Then government companies, again each of it. So again there is a provision where the same can come for 8 marks as well. So like your second chapter, there are a lot of important questions even in this particular chapter. Please ensure that you are going to be learning this particular chapter and nowhere going to leave this particular chapter. Okay, so when it comes to the changing role of public sector, this changing role of public sector, you have this coming as an 8 marker. Okay, so I'll mark it here as an 8 marker, or it can come, okay, I'll mark it here as an 8 marker, or it can come as a 4 marker as well. Then global enterprises usually comes, I've seen a lot of papers where they ask this question. See, mainly these three topics I have seen them asking, and global enterprise topic I've seen them asking, and this merits I've seen them asking for a 4 marker. So I've not seen them asking the changing role of public sector, but we do not know. It's always better for you to learn the points and you can explain it in your own terms with the important terminologies. So this chapter is a very small chapter, but please make sure you're giving a lot of concentration into learning these chapters. So now let's move into departmental undertaking. This is the first part of your topic. Okay, and it is very important. Look at the examples. It has Indian Post, it has Doordarshan, it has your Indian Railways, it has your KSRTC. All these are your departmental undertakings. Okay, so now exactly is what exactly you'll be learning. As I told you before, you will be learning the meaning, you'll be learning the features, merits and demerits of departmental undertaking. I told you each of this would come for 4 marker. All of them put together will also come for 8 marks. Or now let's talk about what exactly is departmental undertaking. Okay, you should know it's the oldest and the most traditional form of organizing public enterprises. Okay, oldest means even before any other type of organization has even come up, this particular departmental undertaking has been the oldest and the most traditional form. And these enterprises are established as department of ministry and are concerned and are considered part of an extension of the ministry itself. So what exactly telling you, it is an extended division of the government itself. So if we are talking about, let's say for example, okay, let's say for example, this is your government. Okay, if this is your government, this is your central government. Okay, inside this you have your state government. Okay, now inside this, okay, you have your department of ministry. Okay, so there is a separate department which is formed inside every state government. Like example, I'll tell you, we are living in Karnataka. Let's say we are living in Karnataka. Now in Karnataka, Bangalore, you have a lot of other departments. Okay, like example, you have the KSRTC, you have the Indian Railways, you have the postal services. All these are a part of your state government or your central government. Yes, no, yes, right. So what is the how is what's the easiest way to remember departmental undertaking? You have a big circle which says the central government. Okay, then you have a second smaller circle which says you have the state government. Then you have a third smaller circle which says the departmental undertaking. That means within the state government, that within Karnataka, you have a small department called as Department of Ministry. This department is an extension of the government itself. That means within the government, this particular department is formed. So, do you think they have a lot of independency where they can take a lot of decisions? No. Why? Because there's always interference of the government. Okay, so it is not called as an autonomous body. Autonomous means, you know what, see, these are the important terminologies. Make note of it, mark it somewhere, then it would be very easy for you to learn. So when we're talking about autonomous means you can make your own rules and regulations. Nobody is going to dictate a lot of things to you. But here it says not autonomous, not refers to the department here, this particular department, what I'm saying here, they cannot take their own rules and regulations or make their own decisions. Okay, they do not have that independency. Okay, they act through officers of the government. That means state government employees or central government employees will put their head into the department of ministry. Okay, so the employees here are all government employees and they are part of the state government or the central government. Example, railway, post and telegram. So that is what I'm telling you. It's very important for you to understand the diagram. First you need to remember the central government. Central government is the biggest government. Then you have the state government. State government comes within the central government. Then you have the department of ministry which is inside the state government. So these are departments like Department of Education, Department of Finance, Department of Health and Ministry. All these are departments which is found within the state government itself. Okay, let's move into the features of departmental undertaking. Like I told you, these are the important terminologies which I've already marked in red so that it's easy for you to learn. See, if you learn the key terminologies, explanation you can do it yourself. So with the help of key terminologies is what I'm going to teach you this particular topic. Now, from where is the department getting money? Okay, the department's funding comes directly through the government treasury, either the state government treasury or the central government treasury. So let's say KSRTC or Indian Railways do not have money, they would directly ask the government. Why? I'll tell you. Because all that ticket booking money, all that money that they are earning through the public is all going to the treasury of the government. It's going into the money in the treasury of the government, state government or the central government. So what is happening here? The departmental of ministry do not have money. So anytime they want money, they directly have to go to the government and they have to ask the government, and the government will provide them with the money that is needed for expansion or whatever it is. Now, who is doing their accounting and their audit controls? Accounting means what? Who's opening the books of accounts, who's closing the books and checking if the balance sheet is tallying everything. All this is done by the government. Okay, so there are government servants. Government servants means what? There are employees of the government who are working in these particular departments and they are appointed as IAS officers or let's say other employees. Okay, so these civil servants and these people start to work in the departments of ministry, and these people start doing the auditing, and these people are the employees of the department of ministry. So if there is any clarifications, if there is anything that is needed, the employees will go to these heads in the department of ministry who are appointed by the government. Like example, I'll tell you, you have the bus drivers, you have the train drivers, all these people. If they have any doubts, they would go to the higher authority. These higher authority are government servants who are appointed by the state government or the central government, and these people end up working in these particular departments of ministries. So what happens later, if they have a doubt, they go to them, and whatever thing is there, it gets resolved. Okay, so these employees are directly under the government's let's say surveillance. That's what I would say. So the next thing is, there's a major subdivision of, see, like I told you, it's a subdivision of the government department. How? First you have the central government, then you have within it you have the state government. Within the state government you have a small department of ministry. So it is a subdivision of the government. Okay, so the control, everything is under the government. If there's any decisions to be taken, if there's any let's say money that is needed, all these things the government would decide what has to be done. Okay, so they are accountable to the ministry, since their management is directly under the concerned ministry. Nothing but whatever things you want to get resolved, everything is under the surveillance of the government. So these are your, coming down to the next topic called as merits and demerits of departmental undertaking. Here I put in short points for you. That is effective control. Effective control means what? Easily the things can be controlled by the department. Reason, because there is interference of the government. Because of the fear of interference by the government, people end up doing their job properly, and all these departments are for the public. So definitely it is for serving the public accountability and increased government revenue. So what happens? These departments of ministries, the various departments like the railways, the tourism, the health, the finance departments, all these are making a lot of money for the state government or the central government. So it increases the government revenue. Then confidentiality. Okay, whatever information should be kept a secret can be kept a secret, because again, who is dealing with them? The government is dealing with them. And it's easy to form because it's within your state that you're forming. So every state has these departments which has been made. Okay, then the demerits would be what? Lack of flexibility, because why? Everything they have to keep asking the government for their consent. So things get delayed a lot. They cannot make they do not have the freedom to make their own decisions. Then there's political interference from the state government and the central government. In reality, it's the department of ministry which handles the real situation of the people. But what happens here? They are not given an opportunity to do their job. There's a lot of interference from the government. But the government here, that's the state government, is not the one who's doing the job, right? But still, these people get attacked by them. Then lack of motivation. Why motivation? There's no freedom for them to do their job as they know how to do their job. So because of that, they feel demotivated. Then there's red tapeism. What's red tapeism? In case if you know that this is a procedure, if they have to compulsorily follow the procedure, and if there is anything that's wrong that's happening to the public wants to complain, the public has to go through a very lengthy procedure, and by the time the public goes through the procedure, the public is fed up. Okay, so that's what it's called. So this is again a disadvantage. Then lack of financial autonomy. That means what? For them to spend a lot of privilege. Okay, so which they do not really like. So what is the merits? Again, I have marked the important terminologies for you in red. Again, we will look into the examples. You have the Indian Post, you have Doordarshan, you have the Indian Railways, then you have Indian the radio system also. Okay, all these are examples of departmental undertaking. So what are they saying? It facilitates the parliament to exercise. So nothing but the parliament is the head. So the parliament, central government, within the central government you have the state government. Within every state government you have these departmental undertakings. So what is happening? It's a very big advantage that they are directly controlled by the parliament. So whatever job they are doing, they would ensure that the public is given a lot of privilege. Yes, so high degree of public accountability. So if you actually travel in a KSRTC bus, okay, you have this Airawat. If you don't know this Airawat bus, what I'm talking about, it'll have a huge baby picture on the bus in a cradle. The bus, anytime, let's say even the bus leaves late from Bangalore, and you want to reach to, let's say, Hyderabad, or you want to reach to, let's say, Pondicherry. The bus is pretty clean, it's comfortable. Why? Because it's a government bus, but it's an extended higher version. Let's say it's the tickets are not very very expensive, but still it's very comfortable for passengers to travel in these kind of services. Yes. And the drivers are very important, right? When you travel, the drivers, there are two drivers who manage the bus, that's driving in the day as well as the night, and you can sleep peacefully. Why? They are not the ones who are going to go really harsh on the road. They are going to really see for the public accountability, safety of the public. But if you talk about other private travels, you will actually have your heart in your mouth. Why? Because you're really scared the way they drive the buses at night, correct? So if you don't know this Airavat bus, which I'm actually talking about, Google it and see. Because what I'm saying is, these departmental undertakings, or these departments, what is formed, they ensure to give us proper information or proper service. Their main target is the public. They want to keep the public satisfied. Customer satisfaction is what they look for. Yes. So the next thing is, the revenue what is earned directly goes to the treasury of the government. Okay. So whatever tickets you're paying, every ticket money goes directly to the government. There is no money that they can keep for themselves. Same point would come as a disadvantage as well. The next one is, they check for national security and direct control and supervision of the concerned ministry. Definitely national security. Why? Because it is our Indian services. It's our state government. So when you're talking about state government, definitely every state wants to shine when it comes to another state. They want to do better in when compared to another state. So definitely they will show that whatever services they're providing, it should be up to the mark for customer satisfaction. But there are laws as well, like it fails to provide flexibility. Why? Because the people who are actually working in the departmental ministry, they know what is the real pinch, what is the real pain when they're doing their job. The state government or the central government will not know about that. So if they feel to change things here and there, they don't have the freedom to do that. So it fails to provide a lot of flexibility. The second thing is, they cannot take independent decisions. Why they cannot take every time? They have to take approval from the departmental heads from the ministry concerned. So if they have to take if they, let's say, the bus drivers or the conductors or the, let's say, the any other doctors, anybody have to take if they know what's happening, if they know the answer to it, but still they're not allowed to do their job. Why? Because they're not working independently. They have to take the decisions, they have to consult others, and by the time they end up consulting their higher end officials, the matter gets delayed. So it is not very easy for them to handle a lot of things here. And the enterprises are unable to take advantage of business opportunities. Example, probably they feel that if we combine ourselves, or if we, let's say, amalgamate or join another service, another, let's say, private organization, keeping the private organization technology and keeping the government organization's brains, they can probably do lot the work much simpler. They are not allowed to take permission to joint venture or take in new opportunities or new ideas. They are not welcomed. Why? Because all this is managed by the government, and you know how our government industries work, right? It takes a lot of time for you to do your things. So if you actually think of doing things within 5 days, by the time you go to the government offices, everything gets delayed to 10 to 15 days. So they are not given the required freedom to take business opportunities. Then there's red tapeism in day-to-day operations. So what am I telling you here? In case you are a public, okay, you've been affected, you want to take legal actions, you need to follow a certain procedure. That procedure is a very lengthy procedure, Okay, so what is happening here? You get fed up by the time you want to take action against something, against someone or some, let's say, some person there. So what happens? You need to follow a particular channel of authority, and when you go through that channel, by the end you feel it's not worth to go through this. Okay, so that again is a disadvantage for the public. Then there is a lot of political interference. Political interference again refers to the government interference here by the state government or the central government. Okay. Then the last one is they're very insensitive to consumers' needs. Like the services that they provide is not very it's not provided everywhere. Like example, the same KSRTC bus from Bangalore to Pondicherry, it is available. From Pondicherry to Bangalore, it's not available. Why? Because Pondicherry is Tamil Nadu government, okay, and Karnataka is our own government, Karnataka government. So what is happening? The services that is provided from our state to another state is good. Okay, so what are they? They are sensitive. Sometimes they're sensitive to customer needs, but not all the time. Like we have a lot of these conductors, or all of us are traveled by bus. We know what is happening when we travel. We are not treated very well. Not often we are treated very well. Some people give you respect, but some people don't provide you that kind of respect. So they're very insensitive to consumer needs and do not provide adequate services to them. So all these are the limitations of departmental undertakings. Please make note of the important terminologies. That's the reason I marked it in another color so that it's easy for you to learn. To the end of this particular topic, that is departmental undertaking. Each of it features merits, demerits. Each of it would come for 4 plus 4 plus 4, or it may come for a direct 8 marker. They'll ask you what are the merits and the features of departmental undertaking, or let's say merits and demerits of departmental undertaking. Vice versa, the answer would come. Please make sure you are learning this particular answer. Any comments, any likes, any suggestions you have, please post a comment in the comment box. Please like, share, and subscribe so that you'll get all the videos and it'll be easy for you to be learning as well. Thank you so much.